Hello and welcome to Football 301. I'm your host, Nate Tice. We are recapping Week 18, including, as the game is actually just finishing up, Lions Vikings. Lions pulled away in the second half to win 31-9, but we're also going to recap other Week 18 plot lines, which were really just NFC South related because everything else shaped up exactly how we thought we would. To help me do that, to help me recap Week 18, to help me recap Lions of Vikings, my guy, Charles McDonald. How you doing today, Chuck?
Doing good. This is the first late nighter, fifth quarter.
Yes.
Feeling it a little bit, just a smidge. But hey, at least this game got so out of hand so fast in the second half that we were able to get on here a little early and start chatting about it.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, we're going to jump right into it. Yes, there's some NFC South stuff that we'll get to in the back half of the show, but this was the game we were geeked up about. This was the biggest game, really, of the regular season, the last game of the regular season to decide the number one seed in the whole NFC and to decide the NFC North champion between two 14-win teams. And it looks like the Lions are going to now go 15-2. The Vikings are driving right now, but I mean, the Lions just took the reins of this. I mean, they really, Aaron Glenn bringing pressure the entire night against Sam Darnold. You could feel it. Like that was really felt like the story of the game was Sam Darnold feeling pressured, feeling tight against this Lions defense. And that was the game. Darnold was missing throws. Amik Robinson was taking it to Justin Jefferson, ton of man coverage, ton of pressure. And then on the other side, the Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs went up for a bunch of yards, 4 touchdowns, a nice little superfecta for him. The Lions clinching home field is huge, needing regain their health. First off, really, this made me feel a lot better about where their defense stands right now with Alex Anzalone back, who had a great game. Also, if you just heard how freaking loud Ford Field was, that's huge. And you get Jared Goff in a dome, guaranteed, the rest of the season. Even if you go to the Super Bowl, it's in the Superdome, so you're good to go. But no, I really thought that the Lions defense played their tails off tonight. They took the fight to the Vikings, took the fight to Sam Darnold. Tons of blitzing, tons of pressure, ton of man coverage. They pressured him on 20 of 42 dropbacks, 60% pressure rate when they didn't blitz. You got the red zone, you got fourth downs. What did you think about this game, Chuck? I felt like the Lions it was a really impressive performance by them.
Yeah, it was really impressive. And I it's kind of disappointing for the Vikings because they just, especially in the first half, like offensively, just so many missed opportunities. Like there was a point where they had run, like 14 plays, like within range of the goal line, and they came away with the field goal in that set. Like it was just kind of bizarre to see how out of sync they looked, especially in the passing game. I remember what we talked about last week was, I mean, I don't have like blitz percentage numbers in front of me for this game, but we talked about last week, like, bro, if you sit back and just do your thing in man coverage, it might not go well for you. So why not just force the error and try to do something against Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and just blitz them and see if you can force Sam into some mistakes. And that's what happened tonight. Dude, Sam was way off of his game. And I felt a little bad for him to a degree because, like, man, this is the last game of the season. We all know what the top season means for you after the season that you've had. Island game, biggest game of the season, and just kind of crapped his pants like the whole offensive line did. I mean, not the offensive line necessary, but the whole offense did. Like, they were out of sync, couldn't throw the ball with any kind of consistency. I think like Detroit's defensive backs deserve some praise for like some of the plays they're making on the ball today. Like that was just a pretty cohesive defensive effort. But I still think if you're Minnesota, you should probably feel like you should have played a little better tonight, just based on the personnel advantage that you should have had coming into the game.
The Lions last time they just keep playing man coverage. They kind of tell you what they're going to do, and they kind of dare you to beat it. And feeling like the Vikings, they should know that, and they still didn't have answers. They were finding runs. They just kind of abandoned that and really just felt passing the ball, that they were just playing this heavy man, and they're winning up front. I mean, you could just feel Darnold just drifting back or getting hit as he was about to throw it. They hit a couple times, like they had a double move in the red zone. They ran Aaron Jones, I think, on a flatten up on Anzalone, and Darnold got hit as he was throwing it, and it would have been a touchdown. But like it just felt like they're just a split, like a hair short. I felt like Collinsworth missed a couple times where Darnold was getting hit as he throws, and I was like, I don't know how he missed that one. I was like, well, you know,
there's a missile in the chest.
Yeah, I mean, he was missing some. Don't get me wrong, but there was some. I was like, well, I could tell you what happened there. But that whole red zone sequence, it just felt like red zone. And I mean, it felt like situational football. Going into this game, it really felt like situations would matter, but red zone and 3rd and 4th downs. And I made a whole big deal, and I won't shut up about the Lions defense running their base defense with 4 DBs, 3 linebackers, and 4 defensive linemen. And it was really what stood out to me was they're playing more nickel. Brian Branch and man coverage in the slot is a little iffy and something I'm going to keep an eye on in the playoffs. But once they got inside the 10-yard line, which was that whole sequence you're talking about, I broke down each play. The Lions were matching no matter what the Vikings were in, except for one play, they matched with base defense. So even when the Vikings were trotting out 3 receivers, they matched base. So they were saying, you're not going to run on us inside the 5-yard line, inside the 7-yard line. Like we're going to make you throw the ball. And then they just kept running man coverage. And so they were just saying like, we're going to make you like, we're going to force your hand because I've talked about this before, but situations, personnel stuff, offenses can kind of get dictated or defenses can kind of get dictated on personnel matchups. Because, on math and theory, if you're going to have 4 defensive backs and 3 linebackers, if we try out 3 receivers, we can throw on you. And I mean, that's what, in theory, especially with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, but they couldn't. And I think Darnold feeling pressure and Darnold missing throws was a big reason of that. Those 2 4th downs that were both incomplete, Darnold misses Addison on both of those.
Yeah.
He's missing Addison on both throws, and they're both man beaters, and he just doesn't throw it. Like it just felt like it was big. It was like as soon as he got pressured, it just felt like he kind of got discombobulated.
And it felt like he never really recovered either at any point in the game. There was never, because like the one thing that Sam is usually good for, where it's like, oh man, I f***ed up, but I'll forget about that and we'll just move on to the next play.
Like nothing happened. Yeah.
It's what gets him in trouble sometimes, and it's what has made him good sometimes. But today it just felt like, I don't know if it was like the weight of the moment, like this is the accumulation of the whole season and like the most important game he's ever played in his career by far, with the stakes not only for the postseason, but also the stakes financially for him after the season's over.
Biggest game since the Rose Bowl.
No, it's like seriously, in terms of what it means for what's next for him. Yeah, that's 100% accurate. So I don't know if that was on his mind, but he didn't seem to have like the normal like, all right, I messed up. Let's get back out there, try it again.
Right.
It just seems like all compound as the game went on.
A spray happens. I've seen the greatest quarterbacks in the world miss like easy throws. It happens. I watched last week Mahomes do it. I've watched every quarterback and ever do it. Darnold misses high, and I noticed that he was missing a few high. But when on those key 4th downs, the 4th and goal from the 3 and the 4th and goal from the 2, the fact that he stared at an open guy and on concepts that I know are man beaters, they're pick plays essentially, and then he just doesn't throw it. That to me is the whole like, oof. Like that's where and I'll get on young quarterbacks about this. And this is why maybe I won't go as high on some guys. Cause like, they're passing up the throw that they should get, should go to. And it's kind of just like a little bit like, oh man, like if he pulls the trigger on one of those, it's a whole different ball game. But the fact that he just doesn't even pull the trigger, like Darnold making a mistake and missing a throw, like he missed that first 3rd and long, he misses Hawkinson over the middle. All right, you missed those. All right, but at least you tried. You pushed the ball on 3rd and long. Okay, cool. All right, at least you took a bite at the apple and there was a worm in it, But at least on these, I don't know. I've never used that metaphor.
That was a good one.
I've never used it in my entire life. I don't know. But the fact that you just turning down those throws is just like, that's scary because it's like, okay, is this what you just get blinders when it's a big moment? Like you turn blind basically? Because I've seen it from quarterbacks. All ages, all types of quarterbacks do that in big moments because in their head they're like, "I'm going to Jefferson here," or "I'm going to scramble here" because that guy's not going to be open. They start kind of gaming it in their head and then miss the throw or miss the opportunity. So, but yeah, I mean, I credit to the Lions, man. This is why they're so good. It doesn't matter who's out there. They played hard. Anzalone being back was huge, but I thought the defensive line played great. I thought they played great in coverage. I mean, really credit to the Lions defense.
If you have to feel so much better about this as a Lions fan watching this happen, because this wasn't the other Week 18 games that we saw today, right? it wasn't like the Lions went out there and they're playing against the Vikings like preseason squad and they're like, oh man, we smothered them. But it's like there's no caveats in this. Like you just beat up one of the best offenses in the NFL, probably the best wide receiver tandem or top 3 in the NFL, and now you get a week off to kind of lick your wounds for a little bit before your first matchup in the divisional round. Like I think that this game, it's like it's soothing almost like for your soul if you're a Lions fan going into the playoffs and seeing this game, because it felt like, man, we are trending down. It's obvious why we're trending down, because we have so many injuries piled up on defense. We'll see what happens with Terry and Arnold. That was another one today. He hurt his foot, had to get carted off, couldn't put any weight on it. So that's not one you want.
Get Anzalone back. You want to get Montgomery back? Okay, see ya, Terry and Arnold. Bye.
Yeah. So hopefully he's all right, because I think that like that could probably just be too much. I mean, you're down. Dude, you be down Carlton Davis, Rakestraw, and Terry and Arnold. Like that was support.
3 corners you added.
Right? I did this offseason. That's a big time trade. Your first round pick and your second round pick. That might be a little bit too much to overcome once it gets like actually rolling into these big time games. But you get a chance to rest. You get a chance to reflect. This is a big win to actually just shut them out with like your third string corners and blitzing like that. That was really cool to see. And then Gibbs just went absolutely nuclear on the back end. I mean, dude, every time he gets the ball now, it feels like he's going to score. Like if they can build the alley, if they can build the run lane for him, he's out the gate, man. It's crazy to see from him.
He had a third down on the first drive, I think it was, where it was a check down and he converts it. And I mean, he just has plays like that all the time where he's just like, it should be 2 yards and he's getting 12. He's so electric. I will say though, the Vikings did have a little thing where I didn't really mention this in the about difference in the first matchup was no David Montgomery pass protection, and Gibbs has gotten so much better, but the Vikings tested it and that's what happened on the play that should have been a safety. That they didn't call. Gibbs got blown up on it, but I know that was even when the rules analyst was like, that should have been a safety. It was kind of like, it looks like a safety, smells like a safety, should be a safety kind of moments. Right. But that one, and then the interception Goff threw, Metellus kind of got a little pressure on the running back with the running back protection too, and then also another play. He got beat on too. Like we're the running back in protection. So that was something I noticed too, that the Vikings were trying to test. So I'm curious what happens in the playoffs too. But Gibbs, man, it's just like Montgomery might come back because he's seeking his 5th or 6th doctor to clear him. So he might get this extra week and come back. But Gibbs is just such a needle mover for this team. I mean, even they're talking about Laporta just going like, hey, we have so many mouths to feed. I don't know what you want me to do. I'm not only going to get a certain amount of touches in this. So man, but all right, let's get into the rest of the Week 18 games. The Broncos took care of business. I mean, really took care of business. Locked up the 7th seed in the AFC. They won 38-0 against the Chiefs backups. We got some Carson Wentz in that game. Also got 26 of 29 Bo Nix for 4 touchdowns, 321 yards, 47 yards rushing. The touchdowns were a little underwhelming. There were some nice throws in there. I thought it was a nice encapsulation of a good Broncos day on the offensive side. Really good screen designs and a couple nice shot plays, and that Bo Nix delivered on. And man, I thought this would be a little more entertaining in the first half, but Broncos, like I said, took care of business. There was no Coy Detmer magic that we wanted from this game. But did you even check out any of this game? My attention moved elsewhere. What about you, Chuck?
I watched a little bit of it. And because early on, because I was just like, weird things have happened with the Chiefs. And then, this game went probably as it should. Like if you're the Broncos, you shouldn't be messing around losing to Chiefs backups. You're just too good of a team for all that. I guess the only thing that came into my mind during this game was like, wow, at one point, Carson Wentz was like the hardest paid quarterback in football. not too long ago. Good God. That has gone south in a hurry for him. I think that he had 97 yards passing, but he was sacked 4 times for a loss of 22 yards. So
4 times on 9 pressures.
Yeah, 4 times on 9 pressures. Oh God, yeah. And then the other dude, Chris Aladokun, he came in. He had 0 passing attempts on 1 drop back. He was sacked. So yeah, it looked like the Chiefs were putting on a preseason roster while the Broncos were not, and I think that's the case again.
It felt like Week 18 was the preseason for the postseason. That's kind of how this day went. Yeah, Wentz wasn't pretty. I knew Wentz with the backup offensive line against a really good Broncos defense, at the very least a good Broncos defense. It was with no real receiving like advantages as well going against Surtain and all that. Or it was just not going to end up well for Carson Wentz and the Chiefs offense. The Broncos are going to play the Bills next week. The look ahead line on that was 8.5 when I glanced at it, but it's already moved up to 7.5. Bills are 7.5 point favorites. I thought I said this a minute ago, but I thought that was just like Sean Payton was on his stuff today. I thought that Marvin Mims touchdown on the screen was so cool. Like it was a jet sweep. We had an end around on it, which is a fake, or a ghost, which is a fake end around. So fake reverse. And then on it, Michael Burton, the fullback who Andy Reid always called the sausage, was lined up as the lone receiver. And I just thought that was hilarious that he was the lone receiver on that play. And like the corner for the Chiefs is just like, all right, sure. But nice little design there. What were the stats for Knicks? Knicks went 10 of 10 for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns behind the line of scrimmage. And on throws of 20 or more air yards, 3 of 3 for 111 yards. So like I said, that's like the perfect balance for this offense. Really well designed stuff underneath. Marvin Mims is a stud. Really enjoying watching him. Also enjoyed watching the Broncos throwback uniforms, which
good. Just be permanent. Right? To make it permanent.
Permanent, right? Yeah. No, they're 10 out of 10. Yeah, so just kind of one of those days. Broncos took care of business. Sean Payton's a good coach. Like he was going to have those guys ready for it. They did not let that slip away. Because of that, it rendered the Bengals win on Saturday, 19-17 over the Steelers. 9-8. Bengals did finish with a winning record. Should tip of the cap of that for everything they went through this year, mitigating all that defensive leakage, as well as, their 3rd round receiver pick just missing a game, doing what he's doing.
Oh my God, help Jermaine Burton. I don't know what the hell's going on with him, but clearly there's something going on a lot bigger than football behind the scenes. When
the rumors were like his teammates, Jermaine Burton, receiver for the Bengals, when his teammates at Bama and elsewhere were not fans of him, and that they're like, and that's like saying something kind of like, oh, really? They tolerate a lot. And they're just kind of like, no, screw this guy. And then all of a sudden that's how he's in the NFL. But anyways, Bengals and Burrow did his thing, even with T. Higgins getting banged up. Pepper Ja'Marr Chase for 10 catches, 96 yards. Burrow finished with 277 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Finishes the season leading the NFL in yards and touchdowns. It's nice to see the touchdowns cracking 40 again. Ja'Marr Chase finishes with the triple crown. Leads the NFL in receiving and yards and touchdowns. A nice, also one of those averages over 100 yards a game and a touchdown a game seasons, which is always sick. Randy Moss had one of those in 2003, I think, which was fun. I always love those types of seasons. But that game was fun. Did you watch this one at all?
I watched this
Steelers kept it close in the second half.
They did keep it close. I don't know what the hell got into George Pickens yesterday.
Oh my goodness.
Not his best game, to say the least. I think like that was pretty sloppy. And that's alarming because we knew like if they don't have him on the field, as we saw like the Eagles game, they don't really have anything. But if he's out there and it's not going the way it's supposed to for him, that's just as bad. So to add to average 3.3 yards per play against a defense this bad, 36% success rate, -5 total EPA for the game, minus almost 0.5 EPA per drive, like. This it's just not it's not sustainable. And
they're the playoff team.
Right, they're a playoff team. Right. They're the playoff team in this matchup. And I know like before, you get to that game and the Ravens have already won like right before you kick off. So you know that you're locked into traveling for the wild card round, but you still played your starters. Like it should still look a little better than this. So man, I everything that we've thought about the Steelers since they lost to Philadelphia, and they have not won a game since then. They're 0-4 over the last month. They haven't scored more than 17 points since their game against the Bengals 7 weeks ago. Since then, their point totals are they scored 27 points against the Browns 5 weeks ago. Since then, their point totals are 13, 17, 10, 17. And now they are headed to where for the first round? Baltimore?
They
yes,
are
they're headed
going
to
to
Baltimore.
Yeah, nice little divisional battle.
I don't see that offense scoring on Baltimore with how both of those
Baltimore's
squads
playing.
look right now.
Yeah.
They're just trending in opposite directions, and it just kind of feels like this keeps happening to the Steelers, where it's like, oh, we got off to such a hot start, and then we run into a wall late in the season, then we're one and done in the playoffs. I mean, it's a testament to always be there, be in the spot where you can say we're a playoff team, and through November, we're one of the best teams in the league, but clearly still missing some personnel, missing some firepower that's going to get them across where they actually want to go.
Yeah, they need another receiver, another pass catcher at the very least. The whole line's coming
maybe
together.
Two.
Yeah, maybe two. Yeah, I don't know. You don't like the fire move. I know, and then also, this is just what it is with the quarterback situation. They're trying to band-aid it with Russell Wilson and a few games of Justin Fields, and then you see how the end of the game went with Russ there at the end. It was just like, oh yeah, unless we complete some of these go balls, this is tough sledding. This was the Bengals' second best game of the season in terms of success rate allowed. The only other game that had better was against the Browns, like when Deshaun Watson was playing, I think. So in week 7. So obviously that was pretty easy to bet. Obviously that one's going to be a little bit better for this defense for the Bengals. But yeah, this is kind of just how I feel about the Steelers. The run game can be decent sometimes. Najee Harris is not my favorite back. Taking some carries. Like I'd rather them go to Warren or somebody else next year. But I do like the bones of the offensive line and the run game. And then the passing game, it's like Pickens, but it's like, all right, our whole passing game is dependent on Pickens. And then it's like, and Pickens is showing that he's not entirely dependable. And again, this team, they lost and they're going to the playoffs, and this is how we're talking about them. So now they're playing the Ravens, who we know the Ravens have a good run defense. They've had a good run defense the entire year. They can match them for size, but then also their pass defense has been, I mean, we have both found stats the last couple of weeks that are like Ravens defense has been top 5-ish basically for the last month and a half.
At worst.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Ravens are playing as good as football as anybody, and then they're going there. And again, they've played each other twice. Steelers have some good answers. We can preview this game. We're going to preview in a few days, but it's kind of like, I was hoping to feel that the Steelers offense would be in the upswing with Pickens coming back from that injury. And it's just been like, actually, it's felt worse since he's come back. And I don't want to put it all on him. There's other issues at it, but it's just like that passing game is so dependent on go balls. And if that's what you're going to live and die by, that's just tough sledding. Yeah. The other game that the Broncos made for naught was the Dolphins and Jets. Aaron Rodgers going out this week saying this is his last game. And then he comes out there and they're throwing double passes around. I was like, click off. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. It was one of my multi-view screens. So I did watch a little bit, a good chunk of it actually. But yeah, that was not much. Tua, of course, was not playing for the Dolphins. They were doing some things on offense. A-Chain got ran down. I was actually surprised by that on the one play. Did you watch this game at all? Any notes on this one?
No, I was honestly boycotting this because I think the past month I've been locked into these awful multi-view options due to the New York sports market. Like if you ever, it's like, so like if you ever listen to Bomani Jones' podcast, The Right Time, he always makes good points about watching football is great. NFL is great. It's not great when you live in the market with the Giants and the Jets. It's not always great because they're bucketed. That's two teams right there. So if you're CBS Fox, if you want to watch multi-view, you are guaranteed to almost have to watch one of them. So even like today, I was like, I just don't want that on my screen. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with any restrictions that come with it. So I kept it off. I did see that Aaron Rodgers hit the 500 touchdown club today.
He did.
Yes, but he did also fail Joe Burrow no. Joe Burrow didn't get failed because he did ask Aaron to beat the Dolphins, which they did, but it just didn't matter because the Broncos absolutely eviscerated the Chiefs backup. So yeah, it was
even make it fun.
Did he? Because I think it was the Marvin Mims touchdown. I was like, oh God! And then
as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, Sean Payton's on his today.
Yeah,
this is over.
Yeah. But then when they got the touchdown where it hit off like 3 different guys and Vel caught it in the back of the end zone toe drag, I was off my screen. Get off now. This is done. This is done.
I know. This is gonna be
preseason week 5, baby.
Yeah, I know. That's what it felt like. Yeah, where teams working out the kinks, was throwing some gadget plays in there. Yeah, Dolphins threw what they could at it. And it felt like, we'll talk about the NFC South after the break, but we'll talk at you could see the teams get defeated or feel defeated once the scores start trickling in. And that kind of is it's a very human sport, the game of football, where effort really matters, especially with tackling in cold weather. And you can kind of feel that temper out with some teams as those scores came in.
I forget which game it was last week. Oh, it was the Steelers Chiefs game when they played. Was that? I don't remember when they played on Black Friday. And there was like a final drive where the game was out of hand. And the Steelers had the ball and they're driving down the field, and Najee Harris is picking up like 20 yards, like every single carry, because the offensive line isn't even engaging with each other. Like they're not even trying to tackle him. And that's like what happens in like the fifth. Like if you have 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter between two teams like aren't making the playoffs and they haven't been able to make the playoffs for weeks at a time, it's like an unspoken agreement where it's like, hey, just come on, don't kill me, man. I won't kill you. Yeah. Let's get the vacation. Let's get to the end of the game.
It's kind of Pro Bowl-ish.
A little bit, yeah. And I understand it. Like, dude, I'm not gonna get myself killed 2 seconds before the offseason starts. Got some money to make.
It really is, though. And tackling. That's why it's like you can tell which teams are so committed and hard fought. And actually, I'll talk about a team that fired their head coach after the break too. But talking about like you can just see the buy-in a lot with blocking and tackling. And so that's the thing too. It's like when you see that trickling off, something's up, either game situation or team situation. All right, we're going to take that first break and then we'll talk about that coach firing and the NFC South and everything that entailed with the NFC South today.
Introducing Daily Draw, the latest free-to-play game from Yahoo Sports. Daily Draw gives you a pack of 6 prediction cards every day based on the day's biggest sporting event. Download or update the Yahoo Sports app on the Apple App Store or Google Play and join the action with Daily Draw today.
All right, we are back. Moving on to the NFC South and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the winners of the NFC South. They beat the Saints in an ugly, ugly game. That was kind of the tale of two halves. Mike Evans, this was hilarious on the final play, tying Jerry Rice for 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons. Baker Mayfield had a tale of two halves. He finished with 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, and 68 rushing yards. I'll talk about scrambling in a second, too. Bucky Irving did his thing, 89 yards and a touchdown. Mike Evans, of course, finished with 89 yards and over 1,000 for the season. Jalen McMillan, very nice day, 74 yards and 1 touchdown on a beautiful touchdown grab. And also a penalty right before that on another fun grab. But this game, Charles, we'll get into this one before we pull out the dagger of the other game that happened in the NFC South. But Bucs Saints, what were your thoughts on this one?
It was cool. I did watch most of the game because the Falcons. The Falcons Panthers going at the same time, like that was actually kind of interesting until it wasn't at the end. So I thought Spencer Rattler played well for the Saints. Like that was probably his best game of the season. A lot more composed, like just less panicking, less less plays where it's just like you pull a pin on a grenade and you're just sitting there watching it like count down in your hands. So that was encouraging. The Baker scrambles were pretty damn funny. But still, like the best part of the game was the last play, because I thought the last play was really cool, because I think people can get into, like, even when you're removed from some of the stuff, you're just spectating. I think people can get removed from, like, I guess how hard these guys work and how meaningful, like, even like just a landmark like that is to someone like Mike Evans. So yeah, if you're not a Bucs fan or you don't really care about counting stat records like that, then you can probably say, oh my God, like, why are they chasing this? Why does it matter? But then when you get to the play where it happens, you can see why it matters so much. Like Mike gets the 5 yards, gets 3 more yards, falls down, and just like explodes on the field. And basically the whole team is running over to celebrate with him. Right. So I'm like, that was a really cool moment where you can just see, like, oh man, like this, it kind of puts perspective for you. Like, this guy's worked his whole life and he just got 11 straight 1,000-yard seasons tying Jerry Rice. Like, is anyone saying he's as good as Jerry Rice? No. But his name gets to stand next to him right there for the rest of the time. Can't take that away from him. Cool moment for him. And for it to happen against the Saints, I'll take it, even though the Falcons did need the Saints to win today. But I'm never rooting for them.
Even in a season like this, oh, don't worry, on Good Morning Football last week, I basically I turned heel on the Vikings, without even meaning to, after I predicted that they're going to win the game. But just talking about but even with Mike Evans too, is that he missed time this year. And so it's like, okay, it might not be the season for it. And so he just rallied and, finishing with 97 yards last week, 69 week before that, 159 the week before that. Like getting there. He had 14 targets today. So they were trying to get it to him. That last play was hilarious. Just a motion bubble, flag, quick out, whatever.
You better block for his ass. One play block.
And he was fighting for those yards. He was going to get those no matter what. So it was cool, like you said. And
for a split second, I did want to see if he gets like 2 yards, do they hurry up? Because they were out of timeouts. Like, do you hurry up and just run another play real quick, another screen?
That would have been funny. That would have been really funny. I just love that too. It's like, it wasn't like, they were 7-9 and this game didn't matter. They were trying to win the division. Like, they still could have lost the game.
Right. What if he fumbles and they return it back,
Everything should have said, take a knee there and just get out of here and win the division. That's what makes actually kind of was like a fun little human moment. In contrast, remember last year when Jameis Winston went rogue on a knee situation against the Falcons?
Yeah.
Remember that one? Yeah. So sometimes the human side comes in, good and bad. Watching Evans on that one too is like, like you said, just the reaction afterwards, just the human element of all of that. They dialed up the cheapy play. The second half for Baker, he finished with 60.9% dropback success rate. So 14 of his 23 dropbacks in the second half were successful. First half, he was 5 for 17, 29%. So tale of two halves for him. And also one of them was and he also had 6 scrambles in the second half. 26% scramble rate in the second half. That's like double Jaden Daniels' scramble rate this season. Baker Mayfield was just running around. He had a 28-yarder on 3rd and 14. Had some huge moments. But that Jalen McMillan, there's a completion on 4th and 8. And then he gives the first down signal and he does this, the gun signal, but it wasn't a gun signal. He's just pointing first down, but they're cracking down on that. So he gets that. They get the big penalty that knocks him back 15 yards. But I just thought Adrian Hill's crew, the reffing crew, they took like a legitimate 10 minutes, like to sort out that play. It took forever. Where even like the rules analyst on I think it was on Fox, was just like, I could tell them exactly what they should be doing here. Like they were actually like talking crap, which they like never do. So I thought that was pretty funny too. But no, it was but big day for I thought the Bucs offense, top 5, man. They just keep finding answers. Liam Cohen keeps finding answers. Kate Otten was out this game, and I mean it doesn't matter. It's Jalen McMillan, it's McMillan, it's Mike Evans, it's whoever, it's Bucky Irving. They always just find an answer there. You wanna talk about your side?
Yeah, then the losers.
Let's get okay. Well, the Bucs did end up winning this, but it was getting a little wonky for a while there. There was one sequence where there was a botched punt by the Bucs as the Falcons were also missing a field goal, which turned out to be very significant as the Falcons lose 38-44 to the Panthers in a shootout between Bryce Young and Michael Penix. Panthers end up the season 5-12. The Falcons 8-9, picking in the teens somewhere. I think it was 16 when the last time I checked. All right, Charles, thoughts on this game?
I really don't care about losing this game because, like, okay, let's say you sneak into the playoffs. You're playing the winner of Minnesota, Detroit. Come on, they would have gotten absolutely throttled. I really don't need to see Mike Penix's first playoff game against a Brian Flores defense, or even just this defense against
defense.
Right, or this defense against the Detroit Lions offense. I'm good. I don't need to see that. I thought today, like, how they lost was just incredibly embarrassing. Like they let one of the worst offenses in the league just steamroll them, absolutely steamroll them. Because I mean, we talked about it last week, even with the improvement from Bryce Young over, like, since he had started, they were still 27th in dropback success rate. It's a bottom 5 passing games in terms of like what you're getting on a down basis. And they got destroyed today. Like Bryce Young, he finished the game with a QBR of 94.3. And I think it was earned, like just how efficient they were.
He was big boy throws on the second half. So that was real.
And then like there are times where they just met with no resistance. So Bryce Young, 25 for 34, 251, 3 touchdowns, no picks, no sacks. They ran for 155 yards on only 30 carries and 3 touchdowns. Just a total lack of playmaking by Falcons defense. Yeah, they have so much work to do on defense, which is like what's been said forever. But to me, the idea that like no one gets in trouble for this season is baffling. But I think that's probably where we're headed because that's Arthur Blank's mantra. You can fail a couple times before maybe we start thinking about what's next. Unless you're Sark, then you just get canned immediately after saving the offense and getting things stabilized and headed back in the right direction.
Sark got narrative steamrolled.
Dude, that was crazy. And they brought Dirk Carter in and everything just fell apart immediately. I'm like, what did you guys think was going to happen here?
Well, yeah. Sark's doing a pretty dang good job. He's getting most out of Quinn Ewers right now.
I don't know, man. That was bad. And Penix, I feel like on the other side, he looked like how we thought he was going to look. Yeah. The first quarter was really rough. A lot of missed throws. Yep. A lot of like clean pocket missed throws. In the second quarter, he kind of caught fire a little bit, and in the second half, there were some good throws. Like he's been like exactly what I think we thought we were going to see. Like not always going to take a bunch of chances trying to get out the pocket. He did have a nice scramble touchdown today, but what he's going to do is fling that thing down the field, and he's going to try and get some big plays. Drake London had an absolute monster game today. Hopefully that continues, but. Man, it's just kind of hard to get excited about any of that stuff when they give up 44 points to the Panthers and never feel like they have a chance to stop them or slow them down or get out the end zone.
Yeah, it's just their goal for the season wasn't this, so that's why I can grade them on a different scale, than other teams. And I could be harsher on this team than I am on other teams, or more bullish and all that. Like as soon as they benched Cousins, it was like the season's already off the rails. Like this is not what you were planning on, so you can't say this is what you guys wanted. No, but I agree with just starting with Penix is that this is kind of the game. This game and the last game is kind of how I pictured him more as a rookie. He's gonna kind of have that with some of his footwork stuff, like just how his steps and everything can kind of cause misfires if he's not throwing on in rhythm. But like you said, like he had the bender to Drake London. And it was just beautiful. And it's just like, that's the thing. It's like, he's exciting at least as a thrower, even if he's not as much of a creator as I would like. He's going to at least try. He's not, a coward with the quarterback, which is always what I want. I want more quarterbacks trying stuff. And that's like on the other side is Bryce Young, when I was kind of like, when he was kind of being mediocre and everything, it was just, I kind of was like, all right, well, he's got to push the ball a little bit. You got to try some of these things. And seeing him today, and yes, the Falcons defense, so caveat, but still, at least he's trying some stuff. He had the whole shot to Jatavion Sanders on like 1st and 25. I think it was in the third quarter, fourth quarter. It was the second half. But he hit that one, and then he had the scramble TD on that. And I was like, oh, shoot. All right, there we go. We're actually like doing some stuff. I thought some of the throws earlier he made in the game were getting a little overhyped on Twitter, and it was just kind of all right, chill out. And then he had some real throws in the second half, so I was like, all right, that's cool. But same with Penix, he's trying stuff too. So
Bryson was definitely better,
much better. And credit, Canales did a good job this year, and so did Joe Gilbert. They did a good job on offense.
Dude, the touchdown to Tommy Tremble, that play was sick.
Awesome.
That was sick. Like I that was one of the plays where I'm like, I don't know why we're talking about Bryce Young on this play. That was Canales.
That was kind of what I was thinking of.
Right. I've noticed it's like, especially once you get to like 25, 35 yards out from the end zone and teams start calling like those designer shot plays. Yeah. I feel like people need to start recognizing that those are like designed to only call like one time. Like in the Georgia Notre Dame game last weekend when they tried to throw a shot play to Dylan Bell and it hit him like right in the face and he just dropped it. And then the second one, they came right back to another one like 1 or 2 plays later and they scored a touchdown with the running back. And I was like, okay, I hope you got some more of those because
they had a whole drive with them.
Right. It's not like that's something you can just, it's not like something you can just get to. It's something you have to just, all right, go for it. Yep. And the Panthers got them today, but I really think people need to recognize like those for what they are, because it's not like when you see like them look for the wheel route, and then they're just coming back and there's someone wide open in the middle of the end zone. They're never going to throw the wheel. They're just waiting for that guy to get open in the back of the end zone, and it's a touchdown. Yeah, but still, he played well today. Jimmy Lake, Raheem, you guys got to look in the mirror. That was really, really embarrassing today.
It was. What do you think they need? Obviously, they're going with Penix.
They need a new defensive coordinator. They need a new front seven, basically. I would love to see them just invest at linebacker and see if you can make something shake there. I'm tired of watching this slow-ass defense. Obviously, Trey Anderson's not going to be able to stay healthy. I don't think you can really count on that anymore. It's the same thing they always need. They need pass rushers. They need linemen. They need linebackers. They need at least 2 more cornerbacks. It's all bad. It's all bad. But hey, this is what it's been for 15 years. You have like a couple guys who are talented trying to just glue together what is not a good defense.
Right. And then the offensive, Bijan was sick at least. Oh my God. Bijan was amazing today. He had a play on 3rd and 1 where he ran 40 yards to gain 1 yard gain. But yeah, actually, I looked up in next gen stats. It was 40.9 yards to gain the 1 yard. It was so awesome.
Man, he fell just short of 2,000 total yards. Damn.
Oh, man, he's such a good player. And then Algiers good too. The run game was so fun. It's been that at least was one consistent measure. And Drake London's sick. Jalen Walker, I think, would be a fun little match there. Anyone
that runs like a 4.4, anyone that runs a 4.4 is heavier than 250. Yeah,
someone with some speed. All right, we're gonna grab up some headlines that happened today. A rough one. New England Patriots fire Jerod Mayo after his first and only season as the Patriots head coach, joining an illustrious list of coaches that were one and done. Frank Reich last year, Lovie Smith the year before that, Nathaniel Hackett in 2022 as well, David Coley, Urban Meyer, Freddie Kitchens, Steve Wilkes, Chip Kelly, Jim Tomsula. Oh man, we got Mike Mularkey, Hugh Jackson. Those are the coaches since 2010 that have been one and done. I want to hear your thoughts here. They won the game today. Had some Joe Milton hero plays that Drake May kind of went one series and done. But what are your thoughts on the Patriots parting ways with Mayo?
It's embarrassing, I think. I understand there's reasons to be upset about the performance that they had this year. But the way that I think he's been covered this year has legitimately been embarrassing for a good chunk of Boston media, a good chunk of people who pride themselves on trying to do a good, complete job. Like, you guys obviously failed here because they finished with the same record as last year, right? 4-13. And we've talked about all, like, for not all last season, like for the past 3 seasons, about how this guy was, potentially the future of the Patriots. He got interviewed by a bunch of teams every season and then will opt to go back to New England. So, like, this has been the plan for such a long time, and just to bail on it after 1 year, like, when you had the same record as last year and like you have a quarterback, I think that's pretty rash. And what's been really disturbing, honestly, since he's been fired, is there's just been this avalanche of unnamed sources just using reporters as fountains to just spout whatever they want to say with no recollection or looking back on what happened like a year ago. Like, there was one report today that said the Patriots knew that this was going to happen, or people within the organization knew this was going to happen. Then why the hell would you hire him in the first place? If you knew that things were going to go so bad a year out that you would be firing him, why the would you waste time hiring him in the first place? What are we talking about here? So it's just, if you're paying attention and you're not blocked by like all this rosy, Patriots lore, Boston culture nonsense, it's so easy to see what happened here. They feel like they messed up, but no one wants to take any accountability for it. So they're just piling it all on him after he's out the door, after they get a win in the final game of the season. I think it's horrible. I think a lot of, like, beyond the football aspect of it, which seems pretty rash to me. I mean, Christian Barmore missed most of the season with a heart problem. Your best linebacker was hurt, and the rest of the defense was old, like just deteriorating. So the fact that they were bad this year, it shouldn't really be surprising to anyone. And the way that they just use them as meat shields for their failures this season, and how many reporters are letting themselves get used as meat shields for the Patriots' failures this season. Stand up for yourself, do a better job, and hopefully they get it right this next time, because this looks like a dysfunctional situation for someone as talented as Drake May. Like, this doesn't seem like anyone there has a good grasp on what's actually coming next, because you're going to tell me Jerod Mayo chose every single player that was going to play for the Patriots this season? Elliot Wolf, you have some responsibility here for what happened too. So everyone's just hiding back in the background. I can't believe, we always knew it was going to be this bad. Then you should lose your job too, because you just punted a year of one of the best quarterback prospects that we've seen in quite some time. I think it's infuriating and childish, honestly, the whole thing.
Yeah, it just felt like he got real, like the messaging was just so stark about what I kind of felt as a neutral observer, and then when I stick my head in to every team's hurricane, because everyone has a different size hurricane around it. And there, it just felt like every week I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, what the hell?
And so mad about something that everyone's surprising.
Any mistake he made as a head coach, and I'm not saying how Mayo and the Patriots played this year was like all the way redeeming, or where I was just like, oh, wow, you guys got to see this, the silver linings. I talked with Matt about it. I was hoping to see more like Dan Campbell's first year or Kyle Shanahan's first year, where those teams sucked, but then they were actually like playing hard and keeping games close. And it's like, okay, at least they only lost by 10. They only lost by 7. They only lost by 4, as opposed to getting blown out week after week. It just felt like to me that like all the support system just went, okay, never mind. But like, as opposed to like trying, it just, like you're saying, it just kind of, there's just everyone backed away and said, this was my choice. And it was just like, whoa, but wasn't this the coach in waiting? Wasn't he the handpicked guy? I felt so weird. Wasn't this the Patriot guy? Like this was it, right? I thought you guys were going to segue into this. And it just seemed like others were using Mayo as kind of just a character for their own arguments. He was as opposed to just like what he was doing and helping him out, is more like they're using their own agendas and using how Mayo was doing to get their own agendas across, which is just, I mean, yeah, I just feel it wasn't great. It wasn't pretty and everything, but I just felt like it was just, there's no support about this at all.
Yeah.
And so now you're starting about zero.
And to some reporters, please do your job and stop being used as a stenographer. You are not a stenographer. You are a human being with actual brain and thinking power, I hope. So when someone texts you, oh, it wasn't our idea, this hasn't even been a full year where he's been the head coach. Think, please, do your job. And, okay, don't just be a mouthpiece. Think.
And if it's going to be Vrabel, like, which it seems like the likely favorite, like, why didn't you hire him last year? That's what I don't get. Like, what was, like, if
also,
you
how's
say,
that different, really?
I know. Well, Vrabel did have, like, his teams played hard. I will say that in Tennessee. I get that and everything. But also, it was just like, are you selling me Patriot way again with another defensive coach? All right. Like, I don't know. Like, what's your selling point? Because he's done it before. All right. Then why didn't you hire him last year? I just don't understand, like, that's why that choice is weird to me. You know what I mean? Like, what did sitting out 1 year do for him? He worked for the Browns. The Browns sucked this year. It wasn't like he was working with the Vikings this year, or working with the Rams this year, or working with some staff where I'm like, oh, that's interesting that he's working with them. He worked for a team that stunk. And he's a defensive guy, and the defense stunk. The offense stunk. Like, I don't know. Like, just weird to me. I like Vrabel too, but it just seems weird that it's just like, this is it. Like, done. Are they the sneaky Ben Johnson team? That's my other thing.
I mean, I do think this is kind of defensible if you can land Ben Johnson, but I just think the way everyone's going about it is absolutely reprehensible. It's disgusting.
Yeah, because the Patriots won today and beat the Bills. It felt like the Bills were like, no, I insist, you win. The Patriots are now selecting number 4. So all that trade stuff I did last week kind of just went out the window, all the discussion. But picking 4 might not be the worst thing in this draft, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that and their future for the next few months. We're going to take our last break here and just wrap up with a bunch of little tiny storylines from week 18. All right, we are back. All right, we talk about playoffs, good teams. Talk a little Patriots there at the number 4 pick. The Titans locked down the number 1 selection, and the Titans could draft anybody. They could trade it anywhere, and I would believe it. They could have a new coach next year, and I would believe it. They could keep the same coach, and I'd believe it. But yeah, congratulations, Tennessee Titans. You are the number 1 pick for the 2025 draft. You are now on the clock. Giants and Eagles played. Eagles took them down 20-13. Tanner McKee, I just wanted to give him a little shout out. I think Tanner's got something. And he finished 27-41, 269, and 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. Any thoughts on that game or the Eagles right now? Jalen Hurts is still in the protocol, so that's why it's interesting to me.
Yeah, that's the only reason why it's still interesting. But I mean, at least we have confirmation that we just don't need to see Kenny Pickett play again. I don't think. No. I think we're done here. To me, it's like kind of like watching like Nick Mullins when he had those years in the 49ers offense, and like you just keep trotting him out there, but like we know he's not good, and now we got some confirmation on Pickett today.
Yeah, right. Then you see Tanner McKee actually will call him in the pocket. Had some really nice throws to the left. Yeah, stay in the pocket and pushing the ball. I like McKee. Yeah, not the greatest athlete, but he can move a little bit, but he's big and can throw. Then last one, also Commanders-Cowboys had a really funky game. That Cowboys defense has picked it up since Micah Parsons come back, but they had a lead, but Commanders ended up winning. Marcus Mariota drove them down 23-19. Commanders keep their spot in the playoffs. But Jane Daniels, this was interesting. He was a little rough in that first half. Jane Daniels finished 6-12 for 38 yards and took 4 sacks and said he had leg soreness afterwards, which they're trying to make it sound like it's no big deal. But when you take him out and keep the rest of the starters in, kind of, little alarm bells, but I get it. You want to take some precautions. Jordan Love hurt his nerves and stuff. I get it. Starting quarterback, making the playoffs. Any thoughts on this game though, and where the Commanders are at? Any Marcus Mariota love?
Look, we've talked about for like almost a month and a half how crazy Micah Parsons has been. I get it. I kind of get it.
Insane.
I kind of get it. Because boy, those like 15 snaps, Jaden's in the game. They could not block him at all. No. I get it. I get it. But what happens next week?
He had a throw to Terry he missed because Parsons pressured him, and Parsons legit blew through 3 blocks. And I'm going to clip that tomorrow on Twitter. But yeah, sorry to cut you off.
But dude, you threw 12 passes, and you got sacked 4 times. So I get it. I think it's a little goofy, kind of keeping everyone else in the lineup, but whatever. We all know like what these teams are oriented around and which position is more important.
Agreed. Also Trey Lance. I enjoyed watching Trey Lance today, which makes me wonder why the hell they didn't play him for a month.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about that for a quick second before we get out of here. Cooper Rush he has a snap count incentive of 55% this year, right?
Yeah.
And he was at 53.5, I think, going into this game. And then they decided to start Trey Lance. Yep. And Trey Lance looked okay. Yep. Which is, it's just like you did both guys dirty at the same time.
Yes.
That's
exactly it.
Couldn't we, if you wanted to do this, we have done this like a month ago, or maybe right when Dak got hurt, you put Trey Lance in. But to let Cooper Rush work his way, build up goodwill with his teammates. I mean, they won a handful of games in the back half of the season. And then just to get to this point and pull that money out way, come on, guys. Come on.
I know.
That was weird. It was
weird. Just the Cowboys and everything they do. Everything they touch is weird. Yeah. The Jerry touch. It's not Midas touch, which everything is gold. It's just everything turns to weird with Jerry. I don't know, man. Because to me, when you trade a 4th round pick for a backup quarterback, I would like to showcase him. And so either I can know I have a high end backup, or I can trade him for further stuff. I don't know how they handle Trey Lance didn't make sense. At least if he stunk in a couple games, then you go to Cooper Rush. But you know what Cooper Rush is? I've seen Cooper Rush in extended starts that mattered last year or 2 years ago. I'm sorry. Like very recently, I've seen it. So it just didn't make sense to me. But anyways, that's week 18. It was fun. It was goofy. It was weird. We are wrapping it up. We are marching on to the playoffs. We have an awards show later this week, a 3-man weave for that awards show. Can't wait to do that with you guys. We waited until the whole season completed, which I'm glad I did because I got swayed in one of the votes, but I won't talk about that yet. But I am Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. That is Charles McDonald. Where can they find you, Charles?
You can find me on Blue Sky. Actually, I think I'm about retired. I went over back there today. It's bad. So I think I'm just going to be on Blue Sky for now on. Yeah.
Done with all of it.
No, it's bad there.
Yes, but also send in those mailbag questions. Either the Football 301 mailbag at yahoosports.com, or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review and you jump the line also. But you can send in those emails. Those are great as well. Send those mailbag questions to us. We've been really enjoying those, especially on Thursdays. Make sure to subscribe to us, follow us, rate us 5 stars, watch us on YouTube on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Also, thanks to Brett and Stone behind the scenes. Charles and I will be back on Tuesday with Matt. Also on Thursday to preview the playoffs. We are finally here. The wild card round. We will be previewing that. Cannot wait to get to it. Thank you all for listening. See you guys next time.